President Trump's physician says the president was given a steroid, dexamethasone, after his blood oxygen level had dropped suddenly twice, but he has continued to improve since then. President Trump has also been treated with an experimental drug from Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. And joining us tonight is Patty Olinger, the executive director of the Global Biorisk Advisory Council, and she's an expert on infectious diseases. Patty, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I guess the first question is, could you explain this antibody experimental treatment that the president got, and I mean, how does it work?
Well, it actually mimics our own body from what I've read, meaning that when we get exposed to a virus or a bacteria, our immune system creates antibodies. And from what I've read and what I've watched on the internet is that what this cocktail has is synthetic antibodies. So what it's going to do is it's going to mimic the protection that our own antibodies would have, as well as protect if when we are infected against the coronavirus.
Is this a common treatment for COVID-19 patients?
Well, I think, that's an interesting question because, what's common right now? Because, I want to clarify one thing. I'm not a physician. And so, this is a novel virus. And so what they're looking for is something that works. And that's why we're seeing all of, so much, research being done right now in universities and pharmaceutical companies to try and find that magic treatment or magic treatments, as well as vaccines.
And does this treatment, do you know, have any negative side effects on patients?
Well, not that I've heard. When we looked at it, and I think that this is an important aspect. The physicians, President Trump's physicians are going to be looking for the best option that they can, and that's why they went for this compassionate use for this particular. I'm sure, is they looked at what all the options were, and they proactively went after. And that's what my understanding of this cocktail and this antibody treatment is, that it's a proactive for those who are either, just mildly, just in the beginning stages of their infection, or I think that also in clinical trials, they're hoping that it may be also a preventative measure as well.
All right. Well, and the president announced his positive diagnosis on Thursday. And if he's already feeling better today, I guess the question is that a sign that he's out of the woods?
Well, what we're finding, in fact, a very good friend of mine, his mother-in-law, has gone through a couple, she was feeling better and then she started feeling worse again. And so they're going to be monitoring him very closely to make sure that he continues on this path of feeling better.
And lastly for you, Patty, President Trump, obviously 74 years old. I mean, it puts him at a greater risk of complications. But the question is, I guess, how can older Americans reduce their risk of getting sick? What we've been listening to, and there's a couple things, well, lots of things. One, wear your mask. When you go out in public, wear a mask. Pay very close attention to your social distancing and hand sanitization. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. When you're going to be removing your mask, wash them or use that alcohol or hand sanitizer before you remove your mask. And then, don't touch your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. And those are the things that we can, as individuals, really pay attention. If we have older members of our family that we're going to be visiting, think about that as well. Where have you been? Is there a possibility you may have been infected, and that you could infect then an older family member or friend, and be very respectful from that standpoint, because this is, as you indicated, for those who are over a certain age and elderly, and they have what they call comorbidities. Those are the individuals most vulnerable at this point in time. All right, some great insight for us tonight, Patty. Thank you so much for your time.